Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brittany Roethemeier, and I'm Executive Director of the Fayette Alliance. As many of you all know, we're a nonprofit that's dedicated to sustainable, smart, and equitable growth here in Lexington and Fayette County, and we achieve this work through advocacy, education, and research. I'm really proud of the work that we do at Fayette Alliance because it represents the intersection of so many aspects of our community: housing, transportation, agriculture, jobs, walking, biking, and so much more. We are committed to research and data supporting the advocacy we do and the education that we provide to the community. In short, we work every day to grow our city, not hold it back. I think about this work every day. I'm in the details every day. And I know that not only is this completely new to many of us in the room, but that each of you are juggling an intense and nuanced process with other day-to-day management of city essentials like the budget, your own neighborhood and community projects, and more. So from Fayette Alliance and from me, thank you all for your work and your patience. I dove into work at Fayette Alliance immediately after the approval of the last comprehensive plan, and when work began implementing the goals and objectives the Council approved in earnest in 2019. That work has been diligently moving forward ever since. And while to some and others in this room there's a feeling that we haven't gotten anywhere, to me, being part of that every day, it seems like a lot has been accomplished, and we're actually really close to something that we can use to serve us for decades to come. As a result of the last comp plan, there was a lot of buy-in to building a new process for making long-term land use decisions around the urban services boundary, Fayette Alliance included. We support and recognize the need for a responsible, long-term growth strategy to guide our land use decisions, because the question here, as always, is not if we grow, but how. I watched and attended stakeholder meetings and gave public comment on multiple occasions through the work of the Sustainable Growth Task Force, the first group that worked to identify data and a new process to evaluate growth. That group met over the course of 2 years. A professional consultant analyzed land acreage, did revenue analysis showing us what land in our community creates the most revenue, downtown, and created a fantastic data set for all of us to work from that can be updated annually to provide transparent and objective data to all. They found that we have 6,200 vacant acres of land inside the urban services boundary. They found that we have 115 acres of land zoned specifically for light industrial, in addition to the 250 acres for jobs at Coldstream. They found that the land we have inside the urban services boundary can serve our housing needs for the next 20 years. The group organized stakeholder input interviews, public comment opportunities, and more in creating their report. I then attended the Goal for Work group meetings over the course of 4 months. On an incredibly tight timeline, they worked to create an objective process for us to evaluate when we might need to grow. If we did, how we would plan for it in a smart way. Good conversations were had with this small group. Important points were raised. Progress was made. But it was a rushed timeline, and that was pretty generally agreed upon. The work that they set out to do wasn't completed. It was stopped as a result of that timeline and up against the last council meetings of the year. Good intentions were had and questions were raised then about the implications of the recommendations, the appropriateness of tens of thousands of acres indicated for development, unresolved legal questions related to statutory decision-making, along with many process details that were left undefined. We don't have updated figures on the cost to build infrastructure. We don't have a program in place to divide costs between developers and taxpayers, and we don't have a process to require affordable housing and accommodate the community's other biggest needs. I believe the recommendations of both task forces were clear that there is still more work to do, more research and data to be gathered before we move to adopt a long-term growth process. Let's build a process that requires and incentivizes affordable housing, that incentivizes transit and walkability and high quality of life. We're on our way, we're just not finished yet. Our community deserves a thoughtful process for future growth decisions, and Fayette Alliance believes the current draft of the goals and objectives lays the groundwork to build one with community support, research, and data. We urge you to support Theme E, Goals 1 through 4, as they've been proposed by the Planning Commission and planning staff, and then let them continue their work. The goals as presented are responsible, sustainable, equitable, and driven by research and so much community input. Skipping entirely over this process that we have so diligently begun to develop and entertaining any proposal that you've heard today that defies logic or results from any sort of data-driven analysis is reckless and unsustainable. Research is clear that more land doesn't create affordable housing without guardrails and incentives. Sprawling development increases the cost of transportation for those who can least afford it, puts more cars on the road, raises the cost of community service for all of us, removes investment from our existing community that needs it most, and doesn't actually solve our most pressing problems. Low-income housing on the outskirts of town without any existing plans for public transit that we don't have, plans for who's paying for sewer infrastructure, which we don't have, or any accounting of what it will cost is premature at best and harms the most vulnerable in our community at worst. Annexation of property benefiting private landowners and developers and lawyers in this room without parameters or analysis is not common sense. It doesn't benefit all community members, and it's not driven by data or research. Fayette Alliance does not exist to act as a roadblock to progress. We want to see all of our community members thrive and our city grow and our signature industries flourish. Without a plan, sprawl and congestion are inevitable. Without a plan, Lexington loses its character and becomes just another complicated place to live. You don't have to look far from Fayette County to find places that have grown haphazardly. But in order to achieve this, we need a responsible plan for growth and the time and community engagement to create that plan. We need to finish the work that the Sustainable Growth Task Force and the Goal 4 work group started. That happens when you adopt the goals and objectives and the implementation stage of the comprehensive plan begins. We need to let that research be the foundation for how our city grows. The proposed expansion is equivalent to building a house before you've built the foundation. If you don't make a plan, then your only plan is to fail. We urge you to adopt the current draft of Theme E, Goals 1 through 4, and the goals and objectives, which set our city up to succeed and build a responsible plan for growth. Let's finish what we started. Thank you.